It appears, in spite of the several claims by members of the Akufo-Addo administration that it's working hard to fight corruption, many Ghanaians still believe not much has been done to fight the canker 2 years after the New Patriotic Party assumed power. In a nationwide survey conducted by lecturers of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana on voter perception under 2 years of the NPP government, more than 80% said corruption is still rife. Delivering the findings of the survey, head of the department, Dr. Mame Jando, also revealed the survey findings indicated President Akufo-Addo would obtain 49.6% if elections were held today, as against 33.3% for former President Mahama. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
A total of 5,000 respondents participated in the research conducted in all 10 regions of Ghana. 88.4% of the respondents said corruption is rife under the 2-year term of the President Akufo-Addo-led government. Yes, head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Dr. Mame Jando.
Now, when citizens were asked if they thought that there is corruption in the country, an overwhelming majority, 88.4% of respondents said yes. And 4.1, I don't know what to characterize that as, but only 4.1% said no.
Member of Parliament for Gushegu and political science lecturer Dr. Idi Ziblim, however, discounted claims the president is only interested in clearing his appointees alleged to be corrupt. The double-track system was rated as the most disliked government program, followed by government's anti-Galamsey fight. Lecturer at the Political Science Department, Ketri Frimpong, says the double-track system was hurriedly implemented.
It is clear the double-track system was introduced hurriedly and suddenly. It appears confusing to many, and the government must do well to deepen public education and clear some doubts of the misconception. Last year, the most popular policy after free SHS was anti-Galamsey. Strangely enough, it has become the second most disliked in 2018. So why this? You remember the government took a very long time in coming out with the roadmap for small-scale mining. And I'm sure people who thought the policy was good also saw their family people languishing in poverty, and they've changed their minds.
The findings also revealed that 49.6% of the respondents would vote for President Akufo-Addo if elections were held today, whereas 33.3% said they would vote for President Mahama. Yes, head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Dr. Mame Jando.
So for Nanado, 49.6% of respondents said they would vote for him. 33.3% for John Mahama, and 7.3% for Kwesi Ndu. These responses indicate simply and unsurprisingly that the two major parties are still the most preferred among voters. And secondly, that there might be another contest between President Akufo-Addo and former President Mahama come the 2020 presidential elections.
One district, one factory, one village, one dam, and road construction were some of the major things listed by respondents as some government promises which have not been delivered in the last 2 years.
Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah is a lecturer at the University of Ghana's Political Science Department, a senior one, and joins us in the studio to help us further appreciate this survey. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. First off, I would like you to tell us what informed this survey.
Thank you very much. The reason why we conducted this survey, and let me make it clear to the public that we were not interested in knowing who is winning or who is losing. We're interested in knowing the government has been given opportunity to rule this Ghana for 2 years. Are the expectations of the people met? The reasons why they voted for them, are they achieving them? And also, more importantly, how are they handling power? This is the reason why we conducted the survey. This is the main reason.
So why, if it's simply about finding out how he's performed, why the comparative study on who is likely to win the elections if we conduct one now?
Oh, this is very important, because if you find out from people, are you happy with the government, the things they are doing and the things that they are not doing well, it's also important to us. So are you still going to vote for them, or you not vote for them? That is very important. At the end of the day, all this boils down who is going to handle the power. That's the fundamental question.
But Doc, you'd agree with me that that's an entirely different question to say, would you vote for them again or not? Or between former President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo, who would you vote for? They are two different questions.
No, yes, the point is that I must say that this study that we did, we have so many questions. This was just about 2, 3 questions that we ended. We asked the question, so if elections is held today, whom will you vote for? It was an even open-ended question.
Oh,
so it's not even a closed-ended Akufo-Addo.
So you didn't give the options?
No. People decided.
I think that's a very important
Yes, people decided. We asked them, whom will you vote for if the election is held today? And some mentioned Papa Kwesi Nduom, some mentioned Akufo-Addo, and some mentioned...
Great.
And let me also be very important to say here, we did this study from the 8th of December to the 24th, because we knew the referendum was coming on 27th, and the euphoria of the referendum may test the findings. So we calculated all this and did the research at the right time.
And tell us more about the methodology. You've told us what informed it and even given us some details about the types of questions that were asked in the survey. But tell us more about the methods. How did you go about gathering the information, and where exactly did you sample these responses?
Thank you very much. As far as the methodology is concerned, we interviewed 5,000 Ghanaians from 80 constituencies, and we were mindful of the fact that because we want to assess the performance of the government, we also took into consideration what we call demographics. What are the population sizes, and also what are their contributions to national outcome in terms of elections. So Accra is the most important place in Ghana when it comes to election. Nobody has won election in Ghana without winning Greater Accra. Since independence, all the presidents have won Greater Accra. So in view of that, 20 of the constituencies came from Greater Accra, 17 from Accra, number one. Number two, we also went to all the regional capital, because that's the second level. And all the regional capital, we work according to the definition of the district at the regional capital, then we did the constituency. For instance, in Sunyani, we did Sunyani East, Sunyani West. In secondary Accra, they have 7 constituencies. We did all the 7 constituencies. Tambali, they have 4. We did all of that. And that, beyond that, we moved to the next level. We selected some districts within the region as well, to ensure that there's some rural balance, and also have some idea about what the rural people thought. And then from there we went to the electoral areas, which we also selected through what we call picking from a hat. And simply when we say picking from a hat, all what we mean is that we name all the electoral areas, and then you pick 1, 2, and 3 as you need them at any point in time. So this is basically how we collected our data. And then we went to the respondents. One of the very important things is that, as I said, we mentioned the respondents. The respondents is also important in a specific geographic areas, given the questions that we were asking. Because, for instance, if you go to Efutu, premise is very important to them. One dam, one village is not important to them. But if you go to northern Ghana, premise is not important to them. But one dam, one village is important to them. So all these dynamics
they came to play.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about corruption, because there's a figure here. Whopping 88.4% of the Ghanaians you interview say that corruption is still rife. But there's more details in your report about the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Share those details with us.
Yes, the issue is that all Ghanaians know that we have different institutions that are responsible for fighting corruption. But Ghanaians were made to believe that coming into force of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, it came as a panacea, if I may put it, to our corruption problems in this country. And the Special Prosecutor has not worked so far for people to see. So people had so much expectation, and because that is failing, it is really, if you want, reducing or diminishing the hope that we had in fighting against corruption in this country.
All right, Doc, let me have you hold on because you're just picking up some information that an Accra High Court has dismissed the case filed by gold dealership firm Menzgold, challenging the powers of the Securities and Exchange Commission to regulate its activities. My colleague Joseph Akable joins us from the court. Joseph, what were the details given for which this conclusion was arrived at by the court?
Well, so Ben, first a bit of background to this particular matter. It is the case that the gold dealership filed against the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Ghana. You recall this was at the height of the engagement between the two entities and the Menzgold when concerns were being raised about the process they were going through. They had alleged that they were affecting their business by trying to regulate them. In fact, one of the issues they raised was to the effect that SEC and BOG could not regulate them, and by interfering in that business and asking them to halt their operations, it was affecting the ability to generate the dividends to provide for their clients. Now, what happened was that the defendants, which is SEC and the BOG, filed a counter application. In that application, they asked that the court throws out the case. Their argument was to the effect that there's a procedure that one has to go through with a regulatory agency. If you still agree, you need to exhaust the alternate dispute resolution mechanism. You don't just rush with the matter to court and allege that your rights have been breached, for which reason you think the court should interfere. So the court this morning in this ruling held that indeed the gold dealership should have exhausted the internal remedies before rushing to drag the two regulatory agencies to court, for which reason the race was dismissed.
All right, and do we have lawyers of Menzgold present in court?
No, the lawyers, they exited. They were actually present for the ruling, but they exited a short while ago. I also have been trying to interact with the public relations officer for the company. He was also present in court during the ruling, and I've been asking him. He said later in the day, the company will be issuing a statement on that matter. I know the question you'll be asking next is about the whereabouts of Namwa.
Exactly.
It's a question I also put up to him, and he said that, he's not speaking to that particular matter. I asked him, do you know where he is? He said, I'm not speaking to that particular matter. Only to say that later in the day, they'll be issuing a statement on this particular decision that is coming from the court. As to whether an appeal remains an option is one thing that will remain to be seen.
Thank you. Grateful for the details. Joseph Akable there in court for us. Well, let's pick government reaction to this development quickly. And we've been joined by the Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah. Good morning, sir. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Bernice.
A lot has been happening in the last a few hours after we received news that an alert has been sent to all quarters for the arrest of the Menzgold CEO. But how does government react to this and what we are hearing from court right now?
So, Bernice, first I was informed that there's a University of Ghana survey report that you wanted me to react to. So those are where my reactions were going. But I think
this came as if you may want to call it a breaking news story or news just coming in. So we just wanted to pick your reaction on that, and then we move on to the survey report.
That's fine. I think the matters concerning Menzgold are currently in the hands of the security and the law enforcement agencies, because customers of that organization have, to my understanding, made complaints that they believe that they have been defrauded by false pretenses. That's why I think the security agencies have triggered an Interpol alert, because they also have been, as part of these reports, been given information that there's suspicion that the directors of that organization are not within the jurisdiction. And as I also listened to the head, I think, of the CID, they have triggered it in over about 140 countries, and they expect to find these persons and go through their investigation. So we would all look forward to how they conduct these investigations and how persons who have suffered, may I say, some losses at the hands of this organization will have their issues addressed in accordance with law.
Finally, on this matter, Mr. Nkrumah, how would you react to those who say they are disappointed in government's attitude, if I may put it, in dealing with this problem from the onset?
And specifically, which of government's actions are they disappointed?
For example, they say that, well, we should have gone in swiftly to close down the company when issues around their registration and what they were really set up for came into the public domain, instead of just the BOG sending out notices warning customers to not to deposit money in Menzgold. They were expecting more from government with regards to this.
Well, so to such persons, I think the point needs to be made over and over again that when, as far back as 2014, the regulatory agencies, namely the Bank of Ghana and the Securities and Exchange Commission, noticed that the practices of this organization were similar to deposits or asset-taking institutions, they did two things. They issued an alert that they suspect that they are taking deposits or assets, and that persons should not take deposits or assets there. At that time, the customers of these organizations said no, they were not taking deposits and assets there, and that they were giving this organization money. This was a trading organization that they were giving money to purchase a commodity, hold that commodity, sell that commodity, and then repay the amount that they had deposited or made available to them, plus a share of the profit to them. The Bank of Ghana at that time, therefore, did not have the legal power to do anything because customers and the company had both explained trading and not deposit taking. I am very sure that if any one of them had, honestly told the Bank of Ghana that indeed this company was taking their deposits, the Bank of Ghana would be seized with the material fact to intervene. The Bank of Ghana gave those alerts, commenced their own investigation, but as you heard the Deputy Governor say on your own platform, there was no transparency. They could not see into it. And the people in the contract, as in the customers in the company, kept giving the answers to the Bank of Ghana that it was a trading transaction. Today, the people involved in the contract are now saying that, yes, they gave monies to this company to buy gold, but they are neither getting their gold nor their money. And therefore, they've made reports that they have been defrauded by false pretenses.
Okay.
And it becomes a matter that the security agencies therefore now have to take up and take through the investigative processes and get resolution to. I noticed that some persons are saying that the Bank of Ghana should repay their monies to them. And the Bank of Ghana has explained that to the extent that this is not an institution licensed by the Bank of Ghana, unlike, for example, in the case of DKM or even in the case of some of the banks that have had challenges, because they were registered under Act 930, the Bank of Ghana could repay their monies to them. Okay. In this instance, the law does not allow the Bank of Ghana to do that. And I think the customers have taken the appropriate legal route by reporting to the security agencies, who have therefore proceeded to trigger an alert to find the person and to commence an investigation on what has happened with these transactions that they contracted to do.
All right, thank you. Now let's focus on the recent survey by lecturers at the University of Ghana Political Science Department. There are so many findings in there, but let's start from the bit of corruption. And we know that President Akufo-Addo has said that he's very passionate about the fight against corruption and even assenting to the bill to create the office of the special prosecutor. Now, from what the survey gathered, voters expect political leadership to tackle corruption head-on, and 46.3% said the president should lead the fight against it. Quickly, how would you react to this, or what's government's posture towards this particular finding?
Let me make a preliminary comment that first, we find this survey credible because it is an empirical piece of work that has been done by a proper academic institution. Sometimes you find many of us doing what we call social media polls or Facebook polls, where as is being explained, you don't get the age dynamic, people outside their jurisdiction, people can vote multiple times, etc. But this is a credible poll that we can interrogate and take feedback from. I think the big picture is that there are many parts of this poll that tell us, for example, that about 56.3% of respondents say that government has demonstrated capacity to deliver on its campaign promises. About 63% admire the implementation, for example, of free SHS. There are a lot of positives in there, and there are also other areas where our attention is drawn to the fact that government needs to do more work there. We take it, as we have always said, as feedback in good faith. It tells us that today the NPP is still massively preferred over the NDC, Of course, it is not in an election period, and so you notice that the enthusiasm generally will be a bit lower. You expect that when you whip up enthusiasm in election years, enthusiasm comes up. But for us, we are not, or it is not in our tradition to insult or dismiss or be appreciative of such service. We take it as feedback, and on the points where we did not even score even well, for example, let's say double track. You notice that though the free SHS itself is generally very well liked,
exactly,
double track
is the most disliked
point of inhibition for
policy.
Parents. Yes. The good news is that double track is a temporary measure to avoid congestion.
All right, Mr. Nkrumah, just quickly.
As quickly as we complete the construction of infrastructure, you notice that double track will no longer be there. So for us, it's feedback.
Sure.
We take it in good faith and we work with it.
Sure. Back to the corruption bit. Considering the claims by your government on the strides that you've made in dealing with the canker, are you surprised by these findings?
No, we are not surprised. There were a lot of reports, even from you, multimedia, on your hotline documentaries on the high levels of corruption and the fact that even you put out my good friend Manasseh, etc., on television. And it tells people at home that there is a high level of corruption and must be dealt with.
Okay.
But in the political arena as well, you have to now gather the evidence so the docket go to court and get convictions.
All right.
Prosecutions are currently ongoing, and we'll get there.
Okay, finally, on promises or expectations of voters on what government should have done in the last 2 years, topping that we have job creation, followed by the one district, one factory policy and road construction and infrastructure. Quickly, can you just give us some details, especially on the one district, one factory and one village, one dam?
So on the one district, one factory, before we ended last year, the president mentioned that about 79 of them, 79 projects were at various stages of completion. I do know that in about a month's time, the president will appear in Parliament on the State of the Nation's address and give us an update, after which the trade minister will take us round for us to see for ourselves where we are on that project. But it is not as though we are still and absolutely nothing has been done. I think if in 2 years, 79 of them at various stages of completion can be pointed to. It's a good beginning. We expect to accelerate that as well as our other flagship programs this year.
Thank you very much for your time. Kojo Nkrumah is Information Minister, and he's been sharing his thoughts on two things, the Menzgold saga and also on the UG survey. Finally, before you go, I'm sorry, the news story from the High Court has taken almost all the time. But let me find out from you. There have been reactions we've heard from government. They are saying that this is credible. But on the other hand, we heard from Deputy Communications, or Deputy General Secretary, I beg your pardon, of the NDC, Mr. Otukono, who says that this is not credible. He is branding university lecturers at political science lecturers at the University of Ghana as NPP. Your quick reaction to that, finally.
Thank you very much. I want to say that as a university and as a lecturer, our duty is to produce knowledge. When the knowledge is produced, it's left with industry to decide what they will do to this. We as academics, we produce it. Our industries are the political parties. So they may decide to use the information or not use the information at the end of the day. In 2016, when we came out with the findings, the same reaction came up, and we gave them specific instances of the NDC that look at A, B, C, D. It may help you. They didn't mind us. Now NPP decided to do the DS. So in the same way, if they rubbish it, we don't have a problem about it at all.
But I remember the last time we got a survey like this from you, Dr. Bosman Asari, I think delivered it, but he's now received a government appointment. Don't you think some of these things fuel that perception that university lecturers at the University of Ghana? No,
Bosman got his appointment not because of the survey, because of his own person. That
not because of the survey, but I'm saying that the appointment and his acceptance of it, don't you believe it fuels the perception?
It may fuel the perception, I do agree with you, but the point I want to make, and I'll keep making, is that this is what we call genetic fallacy, simply because it's coming from me, so therefore it is good or it is bad. That is not the point. The point is that the information we have provided, is it good or is not bad? And let me be very frank to say that in the Department of Political Science, we teach political science. We know political ideology. Everybody in the Department of Political Science, there's nobody who will say that I'm indifferent. We all belong to either NPP or NDC. It's a fact in the department. Everybody in the department have a stand on ideology. Okay. And I have a stand, and Bosman have a stand. Different people have their stand. So that is where we stand now.
Thank you very much for your time this morning, Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. I believe this is available on the internet for anybody who may want to.
We have
published it. You've published this particular report? Okay, so just go to the University of Ghana's...
no, it should not be on the University of Ghana website.
Where
we released it yesterday, and there are still some little ways. Okay. But it's available in all the media platforms.
All right. Thank you very much once again for your time. Now, away from that, dozens of Sudanese refugees, including women and children, have been picketing the UN High Commission for Refugees, the UNHCR headquarters here in Accra, for more than a month. Now, this, they say, is to protest the UNHCR's refusal to issue refugee documents and poor conditions at their camps. We'll bring you details of this in subsequent bulletins. This is News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. When we return, AGI expects improvement in lending following moves to sanitize the economy. Darryl Kwao comes with details.